As a musician, I often feel like I don't have enough time. And maybe that's because being in music just requires you to do so many other things that aren't really music. That could be updating and maintaining your website, creating YouTube or video content, filming short little funny reels or TikToks. And then when you finally have the time to dive in and do music, you may feel drained or like you don't have the energy to do that. So, how do we manage our time? How do we handle the time that we have to be the most productive? Well, I recently read a book called How Time is on Your Side by Bridget Payne. And there are some really helpful tips in this book that I want to share with you that I think will change how you approach music, art, or whatever your craft is. But before we dive into that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. In the book, How Time is on Your Side, one of the things that really stuck out to me is that we're not here to fight how much time we have, but rather we're here to collaborate with the time that everyone kind of shares. Because there's 24 hours in a day, and we all have the same 24 hours. So it's up to us to be able to determine how are we going to use the same 24 hours that everyone else has to be able to achieve our goals. And one of the things that is a takeaway for me from that conversation is being able to determine, when am I the most productive? Is that in the morning? Is that in the evening? Whatever it is, I need to find out what time that is for me, and I need to stick to it as closely as possible. If that means waking up early and then going to bed early, I need to do that. Because if I'm not taking the energy that I have and putting in the things I want to do, then I'm kind of wasting my time in those situations. Another key aspect that I realized that I want to explore a little bit more is that creativity, when it's forced, isn't really good. And we may take our creativity and say, oh, I only have 20 minutes and I have to do this and I have to force it, or I have a deadline coming up and I have to meet it, I have to do this. And when we remove these deadlines and these time constraints, that's when our brain is able to explore and ultimately be creative. Because sometimes these time constraints can help us push ourselves to do different things, but oftentimes it really just stresses us out and we end up just doing the same things we've always done before, or just delivering subpar work that's just really not that good, because we're just trying to push out a result, but not necessarily taking the time to invest in being creative. Now, this is not to say that if you do 15 or 30-minute creative tasks that those are going to be bad. No, you should definitely do those, because those will add up over time. But don't feel like you have to push everything into this short amount of time. Because another aspect in the book that I really liked was to look at how much time we actually have, and try not to force things that we know are going to take too much time into 15, 30 minutes or an hour. Be able to set a reasonable expectation for yourself on how long certain tasks are going to take. So if you can't finish the task, you're not going to be upset with yourself that you didn't get everything done. Focus on how much time you have and make sure you're giving yourself enough time to achieve a task within that time. This is going to help you not only mentally, but also emotionally, because you'll be able to know what's left on your list of tasks, but you're also not just going to beat yourself up thinking you didn't get anything done a day, when in reality, you got a lot of stuff done and you did it within the time frame that you gave yourself, which is kind of like achieving a mini goal, and will definitely help, at least for me, my self-esteem and make me feel like I'm getting a lot of stuff done. And in reality, I actually am. Now, these are just some concepts that are talked about in the book. But one of the best things I think I took out of the book is that we kind of just need to slow down. When we are going too fast, we make mistakes, we feel the pressure on ourselves, and we need to realize that we're on our own separate path. Everyone's on their own path. I can't compare my path to another person's path, because when I do, it'll probably stress me out and make me think I need to be doing more. Now, this might be true in some cases where I'm slacking, but in most cases, I'm being too hard on myself, and I need to focus more on me and less on others. And when we take our time, we're going to be able to refine our skills in a better way. For example, if we slow down and spend more time practicing, we're going to get better at an instrument. If we slow down and take more time to focus on mixing, that mix is going to sound better. If we slow down and we explore different songwriting techniques within a song that we're working on, that song's gonna sound better. When we slow down, we're gonna have time and room to explore and make sure we're giving the highest quality of art, the highest representation of ourselves when we share our music or our art with our audience. And one of the aspects that I think is really important to doing this is something the book calls creative play. If we aren't giving ourselves time to explore or just go on random tangents, our brain is just going to be thinking we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And we're not going to be doing anything new. And in the creative world, no one really wants the same thing over and over. We may think that sometimes when we hear a musician's new song or see a new piece of art or see someone take a new direction because it's different for us. And we don't always like change as human beings. But in order for us to grow, we need change. And we need to change our perspective, our style, or our outlook just in general to be able to see what's going to be happening next for us and to really honestly be fulfilled as an artist. So don't reject changing your style or exploring other styles and exploring other music, because if you don't go down the path you've discovered through exploration, that's totally fine. You now know not to do those things and to do more of what you've already been doing, but you'll do those things in a different way. You'll approach it differently because you've learned so many other ways not to do what you actually want to do. So make sure you schedule time for yourself to explore, learn, and grow, because those are things that are going to help you make better music and better content overall. And I can definitely relate to this. Last year, I was releasing 2 songs every single week, and that put a lot of pressure on me. And it led to a lot of those songs kind of sounding the same, and me being uninspired and mostly unmotivated to release music or to work on music. It was a grind of like clock in, clock out. I wasn't really enjoying the music making process, but I had to fight the algorithm. And that's the biggest challenge I think as us as musicians, is trying to fight the algorithm in social media or in streaming services to stay relevant, to make sure our music's getting recommended to people so they can listen to it, hopefully like it, and then follow us. But that's not what really creates great art. And as long as we're creating great art, all that other stuff is going to take care of itself. So what I decided to do is say, I can't do 2 weeks anymore. I'm going to focus on just releasing bigger bodies of work so that there's more music there to sustain an audience for a longer period of time. And by giving myself more than 2 weeks for each song, then I'll be able to hopefully provide better songs for people to enjoy. And in this process, I started working on multiple songs at one time. So my mindset was able to say, we're going to work on this for 30 minutes and then a different song for 30 minutes. And as I'm shifting between these different projects, it feels like I actually have more time because I'm not saying, here's 2 hours to work on just one song. I'm able to allot my time to say 30 minutes for this. Okay, I completed something off my to-do list and I got stuff done for that song. And now I'm shifting my focus to another song for another 30 minutes. So creating like these kind of imaginary checklists or to-do lists makes me feel more accomplished. It makes me feel like I'm getting more done. It also makes me hyper-focus on very specific things for a short amount of time so that I actually get those things done. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is oftentimes I hear people say, if only I didn't have a full-time job, I would be able to do this more often, or I would have all the time I need to work on my project and I'd be successful. And honestly, that's just not true. Ironically, I find that the less time we have, the more focused we are. I used to be working part-time at my job, but in the last year, I became full-time. And since I've become full-time, I obviously have less time that I can spend here working on music and working on videos. But honestly, the less time I have, the more focused I am on what I need to do. And I'm doing it quickly and I'm doing it better because I don't have time to sit and scroll on my phone or daydream and think about other things. I only have time to get stuff done. And so I'm focused in every aspect of the time that I have when I'm not at work, and I have all that time planned out so that I can create better YouTube videos, create better music, and I'm super focused on all those things. Whereas I know when I was part-time, it was easy for me to say, I can do that later. I can do that tomorrow. I've got time for that. when we don't have time for things, we know how to make things a priority and how to focus on those things. So if you're thinking, I just need more time for this, or if I didn't have a full-time job, don't think that. Think of just starting and figuring it out as you go, because the more time you have, the less likely you are to be able to actually do what you want to do. The less time you have, the more focused you're going to be on what you need to do and how you need to get it done. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think these lessons from How Time is on Your Side apply to you? And if you haven't, check out the book. It's a super short read. It's about 100 pages or so. You can read a couple pages a day and think about the lessons that they're talking about. But honestly, I can't recommend them enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.